Yeah, Adam Silver is not gonna let there be a be a lockout. Adam Silver is absolutely not going to let there be a WNBA lockout. The man is already making plans.
What if the biggest threat to Caitlin Clark's career isn't a rival player on the court, but a single piece of paper? A contract sent from overseas, with a number so massive it could convince her to walk away from the WNBA for good, leaving the league she single-handedly resurrected and ruined.
Dang, dang, dang. So this is what it's come to. This is what it's come to. Adam Silver's had to come in and say, hold up. You stay right there. You stay right there. I got to break up all this fighting and all this foolishness going on. Adam Silver has had to insert himself to make sure that there's no strike, no lockout, and to ensure that there is a 2026 WNBA season with future plans to also head.
The world of women's basketball has just been rocked by an explosive rumor that's spreading like wildfire. Whispers from inside sources claim that powerful Chinese investors, backed by a government-level sports initiative, have extended a jaw-dropping, life-altering offer to Caitlin Clark. This isn't just a standard overseas contract for the offseason. It's a seismic proposal designed to make her the highest-paid female basketball player on the planet by a margin that is almost impossible to comprehend.
Basketball. It's symbolic of a massive business opportunity. And I got to talk to Adam Silver during a break in the game about growing this sport beyond the roughly 500 million fans the NBA already has in the country.
Amazing fan base in China. Certainly, well, we didn't play here for several years. We never really left. I mean, our games were televised here the entire time, and interest has continued really unabated in the games themselves.
When you're looking at China and you have roughly 500 million fans, more than the population of the United States, where is your vision for the NBA in this country?
It's interesting. We announced
The numbers are where the story moves from intriguing to truly insane. Caitlin Clark's rookie WNBA salary is a shocking $76,535 for the entire season, while her groundbreaking multi-million-dollar endorsements with Nike, Gatorade, and State Farm make her a wealthy woman. That league salary is the official value the WNBA places on her talent. The rumored Chinese offer, however, is reportedly in the 8-figure range for a single season, a figure north of $15 million. She could earn more in 1 year than her entire 4-year WNBA contract is worth, 100 times over for playing the exact same game.
We have to get through a new CBA agreement with our players, and arguably you could say the largest market in the NBA. Had to get a new CBA with our players, but once we do, there's so much interest in women's basketball here, I think we'd love to bring a WNBA game to Macau or to mainland China. When asked when the WNBA could head to China, so
this isn't just a random team wanting a star player for a local championship. This is a meticulously calculated move on a global chessboard. Chinese investors, working in lockstep with the NBA's own global expansion plans, see Clark as more than an athlete. They see her as the key to unlocking the entire Asian market, a billion-person audience hungry for a new icon. They don't just want her to score points, they want her to be the face of a movement, the ambassador of a new era, and they are willing to pay an unprecedented price to secure her.
NBA is looking to make a comeback in mainland China and testing the waters after a multi-year hiatus. This around backlash around Hong Kong's 2019 pro-democracy protests.
And if you think this sounds like a far-fetched fantasy, you haven't been listening to NBA Commissioner Adam Silver. He has publicly and repeatedly stated that bringing WNBA games and stars to China is a top priority for the league's growth. He sees the future of basketball as global, not just American, and he knows that to launch the WNBA brand in China successfully, he needs a name that transcends borders and cultures. He needs the one player everyone is talking about, Caitlin Clark. This offer isn't coming out of nowhere. It's a direct consequence of the NBA's own grand plan. Behind the scenes, the WNBA front office is reportedly in a state of full-blown panic. Caitlin Clark isn't just another player on their roster, she is the entire business right now. She is the singular force driving sold-out arenas in every city, shattering television rating records that have stood for decades, and forcing mainstream media outlets that previously ignored the league to lead their broadcasts with her highlights. If she walks, the entire Caitlin Clark effect that is currently propping up the league's valuation goes with her, leaving a devastating financial and cultural void. This terrifying threat exposes just how unprepared and out of touch the league's leadership has been for years. The WNBA has been consistently criticized for its embarrassingly low salaries and subpar player conditions, creating the very vulnerability that China is now exploiting. The recent highly public fight just to get players charter flights instead of forcing stars to fly commercial was a perfect example of their mismanagement. While the league was nickel and diming its athletes over basic travel budgets, international powers were drawing up nine-figure plans to poach their most valuable asset. This story has now escaped the confines of sports forums and has exploded into a mainstream media frenzy. Major personalities like Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee are dedicating entire segments to the debate, asking the question on everyone's mind, should she take the money and run? This intense media spotlight puts immense pressure not only on Clark herself but on a WNBA front office that is now being publicly shamed for its inability to properly compensate the very players saving their league. The narrative is no longer just about a contract, it's about a fundamental failure of the system. But this dilemma isn't just about money, it's also become deeply personal. Clark has been subjected to relentless physical targeting on the court, with cheap shots, flagrant fouls, and off-ball hostility becoming a nightly spectacle. The now infamous incident with Shenedy Carter, where she was blindsided by a vicious hip check away from the ball, went viral and sparked a massive, ugly debate about jealousy and respect within the league. The perception for millions of new fans is that the league isn't doing nearly enough to protect its golden goose from resentful veterans. This isn't just a few isolated incidents. It's starting to look like a league-wide civil war. The on-court aggression is often followed by dismissive post-game comments from rival players and even coaches who seem to resent the unprecedented attention Clark receives. This hostile environment, where she is simultaneously the league's biggest draw and its biggest target, makes an offer from China look less like a business decision and more like a potential escape. A chance to play where she is celebrated as a pioneer, not treated as a problem. And for anyone who thinks a top star would never abandon the WNBA, they need a serious history lesson. Years ago, Diana Taurasi, arguably the greatest WNBA player of all time, was paid over $1.5 million by her Russian team, and part of that deal was that they explicitly paid her to sit out an entire WNBA season just to stay fresh for them. The precedent has been set in stone. When the money and the conditions are overwhelmingly better elsewhere, loyalty has its price, and the WNBA has lost that battle before. The situation also creates a massive headache for her corporate sponsors. Brands like Nike, Gatorade, and Wilson signed her to multi-million-dollar deals based on her visibility in the American market. A move to China could complicate everything. Would her games broadcast at odd hours from halfway across the world have the same impact? Or could this move be a genius-level play, turning her from an American star into a truly global icon, opening up the colossal Asian market for her sponsors and making her even more valuable? It's a high-stakes gamble that corporate boardrooms are undoubtedly debating right now. This isn't just a sports story anymore, it's a geopolitical minefield. In an era of tense relations between the United States and China, the idea of America's brightest female sports star becoming the face of a Chinese-backed league is loaded with political implications. It would be seen as a massive soft power victory for China, demonstrating their ability to attract top-tier global talent. Clark would inadvertently become a pawn in a much larger game, facing questions about patriotism and international allegiances that no athlete should have to bear. This leaves Caitlin Clark with an unthinkable, career-defining dilemma. Does she remain loyal to a league that grossly underpays her, and whose players and officials seem unable or unwilling to protect her from physical harm? Or does she seize a fortune that would secure her family for generations, become a global icon, and force the WNBA to finally reckon with its own systemic failures? It's a brutal choice between legacy and luxury, and neither path is free of criticism. The most terrifying part for the WNBA is the inevitable domino effect. If Clark, the face of the league, takes the deal, how long until Angel Reese, with her own massive brand, gets a similar call? Or Sabrina Ionescu, or Aja Wilson? Foreign leagues would immediately see the WNBA as a vulnerable, weakened market, ready to be picked apart piece by piece. The league wouldn't just lose its biggest star, it could trigger a mass exodus of its top talent, effectively turning the WNBA into a developmental league overnight. However, in this chaos lies an opportunity for the ultimate power move. What if Clark uses this offer as a weapon? By publicly and dramatically turning down tens of millions of dollars, she would instantly become a legend, the selfless hero who chose to build the league from within instead of abandoning it for personal gain. The leverage she would command would be unprecedented. She could walk into the next collective bargaining agreement negotiation and demand radical revolutionary change, and the league would have absolutely no choice but to listen. No matter what she decides, this entire situation is a catastrophic and humiliating indictment of WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert. Whether Clark leaves for China or stays and becomes a reluctant martyr, the very existence of a credible foreign threat to poach the league's most important asset proves that the current leadership has utterly failed. They failed to create a financially competitive environment and failed to foster a culture that protects its stars, leaving the door wide open for this crisis. Imagine for a moment the WNBA's dark future without her. The sold-out arenas would suddenly have thousands of empty seats. The record-breaking television ratings would plummet back to obscurity. The multi-million-dollar sponsorship deals that came aboard because of her would begin to dry up. It would be a catastrophic regression, erasing years of progress in a single off-season and proving that the league's foundation was far more fragile than anyone wanted to admit. But perhaps there's a radical third option, one that rewrites the rules of professional sports entirely. Maybe she doesn't have to choose. Maybe she becomes the first true global basketball superstar of her kind, playing a condensed season in the WNBA before headlining a marquee league in Asia. She wouldn't just be a player, she'd be an international ambassador, a bridge between two basketball-obsessed continents, forging a new path for what it means to be a female athlete in the 21st century. In the end, the offer itself is the real story. Whether it's a firm contract on the table or a brilliantly executed rumor, it has served as a deafening, league-altering wake-up call. It has exposed the deep systemic vulnerabilities at the heart of the WNBA and has placed a ticking time bomb at the center of the league's future. The entire sports world is now holding its breath, waiting to see if Caitlin Clark will be the one to defuse it or the one who ultimately lights the fuse.